na may unting piling. Ibigkas ng iparinig, pag-aaral mo sa walang bahala. Ang karunungan ay siyang mas mahalaga. Walang ibang hinahangat, nagay kong katulad sa isang tamis-silim ay araw na sisitatin. Aking liliparin, aking papabilin, ang bagong pag-asa ay muling tatanawin. Ako't gaway lahat, ito'y aking makakamtan. Puspos ang pagsisikap, patutupad ang pangarap. Wala bang makakaharap, kahit pulos may tumarang. Sipag at lakas ang ating hawak. Labis ng aking paglaban, patuloy na inaangat. Pangalan ko ay siyang matutupad, matutupad.
Halina't makinig sa akin, tamang kabalaran ang kahihinatnan natin. Bubukal sa iyong isipan, tagumpay na tatahakin. Isang pangarap na lubos, landas na iyong pagtutunguhan. Pangat na inaasam, di mapipigil ni numan. Maaabot lahat, lahat ng iyong inaasam. Kasipagan ng sabot, salat ka man sa kayamanan. Buksan ang pahina ng mga aklat ng karunungan. Edukasyon ating kailangan, kamamangan ating iwanan. Please!
Aking liliparin, aking papabilin,
Ating tanawin,
bagong pag-asa ay muling tatanawin.
kinabukasan pagbibayin. Pilitin mo gawin,
Puspos ang pagsisikap,
pag-asa ay yakapin. Edukasyon ang kayamanan ang kahit di naman. Isang pangarap ang tutupad, pagsisikapan ng lahat.
puspos ang pagsisikap,
Kaya mo yun, kaibigan.
mabubuo isang pangarap.
Mayaman ang Pilipinas. Masagana tayo sa talento, likas yaman at mga ideya. Ngunit hindi pa natin nakakamit ang inaasam na pag-unlad ng bansa. Ang susi sa pagsulong ng kaunlaran ng Pilipinas ay hindi basta innovation lamang, kundi Filipinnovation, isang malawak na panawagan at pagkilos na isulong ang progreso ng Pilipinas sa pamamagitan ng siyensya at innovation. Dahil isinasabuhay natin ang pagiging malikhain, matyaga, habang nakikipagtulungan sa bawat isa, tayo ay may dedikasyon na lumikha ng mga programa at matalinong solusyon na mapapakinabangan ng bawat Pilipino. Ang Filipinnovation ay isang entablado ng iba't ibang likha at teknolohiyang gawa ng Pilipino. Isang laboratorio kung saan lahat ng ideya ay sinusuri upang mabigyan ng pagkakataon na makamit ang ating ambisyon. Kaya ang diskarte natin ay research-driven, intellectual property-based, at market-responsive approaches sa paglikha ng mga produkto na makabuluhan sa merkado at sa buong komunidad. Ang susi sa progreso ay nasa ating kamay. Ang susi upang palakasin at patibayin ang buhay ng bawat Pilipino. Sa bawat ikot ng susi, tayo ay magiging isang innovative nation. Unlock Filipino potential, unleash Philippine progress. This is Filipinnovation.
Welcome to the breakout session on learning and education. I'm Celine and I will be your moderator for this morning session. We have an exciting lineup of speakers for you this morning. And as mentioned earlier in the preliminaries, the learning and education system is one of the 10 priorities of the National Innovation Agenda and Strategy document, our 10-year innovation roadmap. We acknowledge the importance of our human capital and their development in terms of achieving a smart and innovative society that will lead to a matatag, maginhawa, at panatag na buhay para sa lahat, which we want to attain by 2040. So in this segment, we recognize innovations that enable inclusive innovation through effective delivery of learning and education, allowing learners to acquire functional literacy, knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, and habits towards proactive, smart, and innovative people. This includes globally competitive curriculum design, lifelong learning, professional and talent development and certification, such as but not limited to schools, education, training centers, learning materials, learning management systems, and education platforms, among others. So for today, we are happy to have here with us champion innovators. First, we have Mr. Stephen Cezar, Supervising TESD Specialist from the NITESD TRDD on Technology Research and Training for CEMMT equipment and repair and retrofitting. Next, we have Ms. Saily Palomata, who is the manager of the Tagum City Historical and Cultural Center. And last but not the least, Director Jocelyn Andaya, who is the Director of the Bureau of Curriculum Development, to discuss innovation on circles of innovators for learning. So just a reminder, our speakers will entertain questions once we are done with all the presentations. But before we start, let us watch the short videos they have prepared for their projects.
Welcome to Tagum City Library and Learning Commons. Tara na, let's take you to a tour.
industry nowadays relies on technology such as automation, digitalization, and information technology to stay productive and competitive in the market. The computer numerically controlled machines, or commonly known as CNC machines, are examples of equipment used for this purpose.
Ago, we are using these machines to train CNC milling and CNC machine operation and civil trainees. At that time, we have advanced technology for CNC cutting. As years go by, our machines started to break down one by one and has been experienced by the 6 CEMMT centers. The problem has occurred not just in TESDA but also in the manufacturing industry. As a trainer at that time, I tried to find a solution to cope with the problem, that is the dwindling number of working CNC machines. I tried DIY CNC machines and then build your own CNC machine. The DIY CNC machine that I developed entered the 2015 Test Trainers Innovative Project Competition held at the TESDA Green Technology Center, and it won the People's Choice Award. This has served as one of the benchmark for planning the CMMT rehab project through technology research.
With the gradual deterioration of the CNC machines, the management looked for the most cost-effective approach to address this problem. It is at this time that the CMMT rehabilitation project was conceptualized.
The goal of the project is to continue and sustain the ongoing TESD contributions in the manufacturing sector, specifically in the development of the workforce, establishment of skills development programs, and provision of support for product development. But this can only be done by ensuring that all SEM will become active and will operate at full capacity, which means all unusable CNC machines should be recommissioned and put into operation.
The project requires an approximate amount of 12 million for implementation. Several fund sources were considered. However, the TESDA Development Fund was the most suitable source for this purpose. To secure the needed money, the National Institute for Technical Education and Skills Development submitted a research proposal to the TESDA Board, being the designated manager of the TDM. The proposal was approved and money was released in November 2020. To implement the research and training component of the project, the Provincial Training Center Rosario was designated as the lead research institution for this purpose. Furthermore, thanks to the support of the TESDA Regional Office 4A, as the area manager of the Provincial Training Center Rosario, the technology research was completed on time.
For the current status, we have secured the required funds, conducted the technology research, and trained the trainers. At present, we are now repairing the machines and just one step away from achieving our goal of a developed workforce for the manufacturing sector. Even though the project goal is not realized yet, we have already achieved promising results. The most glaring was that the government saved 92% of the estimated cost, or approximately 167 million pesos, when the repair was done in-house and through research and training.
The most challenging part is the getting to know the CNC machines parts, its operation, how it works, the program, its components and functions. We have to familiarize ourselves with all aspects of the system.
The Department of Education organized the Circle of Innovators for Learning to address the challenges brought about by the uncertainty of the future. It is DepEd's national reform to raise the quality of basic education in response to the rapidly changing learning environment of present and future learners by introducing aggressive reforms for globalization. As a result, Sulong Edukalidad was launched that carries the KITE approach. This banner program is vivid evidence of DepEd's compliance with the Republic Act number 11293, otherwise known as the Philippine Innovation Act. This prompted educators and educational leaders in basic education to take various approaches to promote innovations that are worthwhile for the community. As Secretary Briones mentioned, the only constant in education is change. The more we prepare our learners before going out to a world where practices and principles are already different, then they will be in a better position to accept and look for innovation. The Circle of Innovators for Learning, or CIL, was organized to inculcate the culture of innovation by recognizing exemplary innovators in the DepEd community. This also serves as an avenue for sharing innovative ideas and practices implemented in different DepEd communities under any circumstances. As part of the launching of the Circle of Innovators for Learning, webinar series on innovations were conducted on February 23 to 24, 2021. The national awardees of different awarding programs such as Civil Service Commission, Career Executive Board, Metrobank Foundation, DepEd Safe CI, and awardees and finalists in international awards such as Global Teacher Prize, Mahashakri Award shall be invited as core members. The goal of the Circle of Innovators for Learning is to inculcate the culture of innovation by acknowledging exemplary innovators for learning in the DepEd community and uphold innovations that are replicable and scalable to influence the quality of Philippine or global education. Qualifications of the innovators must be the following are the selected 12 exemplary innovators. Witty Box, Weather and Time Box by Mr. King George D. Baruga, Vierne Escuela Platforms of Mr. John Paul M. Viernes, Auto Electrical Board Type Mockup by Mr. Jeffrey G. Moreños, Pagsasaka, Digitalized e-learning module of Mr. Vincent Paul M. Cabral, Bahay sa Gift by Estelita Ampo Peña, Mrs. Barohabos Bu Away, Folkloric Dance Troupe and Zumbahay are for inclusive education and a battle against the pandemic. Simatar by Venus Alboroto, We Innovate by Mary Ann Grace B. Dulay, the Culture-Based and Inclusive Education Program by Mr. Jesus C. Insalada, Kalilayan IP, Project Lead, and Melma by Rejulios M. Villanes, Dagyao by Mr. Darwin T. Tadifa, The Invention-Driven and Instructional Design and Innovation Transfer, I Did It by Maria Ragele A. Orate and Jason B. Alvaro of the National Capital Region. For the sustainability of the program, the following steps shall be undertaken. Establishment of CIL portal, conduct of Innovators Congress, perform monitoring and evaluation of the innovations and their impact on learning and teaching, develop Learning Futures curriculum which intends to align a forward-looking curriculum with up-to-date technology. Thank you very much. It is always an honor to be of service for the Filipino learners.
All right, thank you very much. I hope you learned a lot from our very enlightening videos a while ago. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of various schools who are here with us today. So we have Valencia National High School, University of Cebu, LGU Province of Leyte, Laguna State Polytechnic University, LGU Tigbawan Iloilo, and our dear viewers from DepEd, TESDA, and from Tagum City. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker for today. Mr. Stephen Cezar has, with more than 2 decades of experience in the field of technical vocational education and training in the Philippines. Mr. Cezar served as the leader in the research project CEMMP Rehab. He currently works as the Supervising Technical Education and Skills Development Specialist for the Technology Research and Development Division under the National Institute of Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. Prior to his connection to TESD, he had more than 10 years of experience in the field of electronics and industrial automation as a technician, teacher, and TESDA Center Administrator. He is a graduate of Diploma of Technology, majoring in electronics at the Marikina Institute of Science and Technology, and continues with his studies to earn a bachelor's degree in industrial education. He took a postgraduate diploma in public development management at the Development Academy of the Philippines, where he developed his skills in project development management and innovations. So let's all welcome Sir Stephen Cezar. Sir, you have the floor po. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Celine. Good morning. Good morning to everyone. So let me share my presentation first. Can you see it already? You know the map.
Yes, sir. Very clear po.
Okay, thank you. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Stephen Cezar from TESDA, and I'll be presenting our project, CMMT Rehab, or basically it's a reactivation of the Centers of Excellence in Modern Manufacturing. In this project, we focuses on repair of CNC machines. So without further ado, let's start. So what is a CNC machine? CNC machines are equipment that can cut plastics, woods, metals, and other solid materials into shape based on design, predefined program, and settings. Basically, the principle of operation is that your cutting tool, wait, sandali na. I forgot to share audio. Yeah. So basically, the idea of this is that your cutting tool needs to move in XYZ direction. Later in the video, you will see it. Next slide. This is how it works. You need a CAD file, and this CAD file will be converted into G codes and fit into the machine. Yeah. Then the machine will be configured, after which that program will be used to cut the raw material into shape. So in this example, we're cutting a chess workpiece. Fast forward natin, ha? Yeah. That's a chess workpiece. Yeah. So ganun lang siya kasimple. This machine is, at first we thought that this machine is too complicated to repair. But upon this research, we were able to discover that it's simple. It's not that complex as long as you will understand the purpose of each part of the machine. So TESDA started its journey to CNC technology way back in 2010. I believe earlier, but the project that I'll be discussing was fully operationalized in 2010. That time we have 100 plus CNC machines. And these machines were installed in 7 centers of excellence in modern manufacturing technology nationwide. 7 years after, we conducted an audit and we found out that out of the 100 plus machines, 88 machines are found to be unusable. Hindi na siya nagagamit. And only 2 CMMT or 2 centers remains to be operational. So um, we concluded that CMMT deteriorated over time, and together with the deterioration of the center or the machine being unused are the halting of programs and the gradual loss of trainers also, or qualified trainers. So the management then decided we need to rehabilitate this CMMT. Actually, it was our Deputy Director General who were very persistent and keeps on giving us direction. We need to revive these centers. Philippine government invested too much in this, so we need to make it work. That's their instruction to us. So what we did is to look for possible solutions. We first we think of what if we just maintain the status quo? What if we just maintain the status quo? Let the machine die by its natural death. Then, but in consideration, we found out that we're losing. Instead of just letting it operational, we keep on losing. We estimated that the loss we have are approximate to 3.6 million pesos every year. And that excludes yung mga opportunity loss from the industry side, from the potential workers to the company who are into this. They cannot absorb more work because they lack workers, something like that. Then we think, so we know for sure that maintaining status quo is not our the way for this to resolve this problem. Second, we think of engaging the service of authorized service center. However, it's very costly. The estimate they have submitted to us is about 179 million pesos. So it's very expensive for us, for TESDA, even for the schools to cover that much or that expense just to repair the machine. And we think of public-private partnership. So we assume that in public-private partnership, the cost will be higher than the authorized service center, engaging the service of authorized service center. So we concluded here that it's not attractive enough. It's not sustainable. If the center will not earn from the training, paying 179 million plus for just the repair. So we decided to go through the rehabilitation of the CNC machines through technology research. So what we did is we looked for who in TESDA can have the experience to repair at least machine. Luckily, we found one trainer then by the name of Marlon Hubila. He entered a project, a DIY CNC machine. So we discussed it with him, we discussed the plan, and we made the proposals and for us to get the necessary fund to implement this project, because this was the decision that the management take for us to rehabilitate the center. During the planning part, the research part, we found out that the root cause of the problem is basically anchored to obsolescence of a particular component. That is the main controller. So, because based on the original design of the CNC machine, the machine requires a card to be added to the computer for the computer and the machine to communicate. Unfortunately, during the upgrading of technology, this card is now not supported by a modern computer anymore. So as such, we cannot connect the computer and the machine. Therefore, this renders the machine unusable. So So the prolonged use, so what we wanted is to change this component, the main controller. But we also acknowledge that prolonged non-operation of machine may cause stock up on mechanical and moving parts. So we acknowledge that can be a problem also when we start repairing the machine. Then we also acknowledge that there can be defects on major components such as mainboard, servo controllers, other drives. So these are electronic components also that we need to consider when we do the repair. So, but first, assuming that everything is okay and we just need to repair the main board or main controller, so we look for what kind of controller will we use that would not need a proprietary card to be inserted in the computer. That's the first consideration. Then second, when we change the controller board, we assume that we will use new software. Then we consider that this system should be more resilient to technology change. And then we may require to change other parts due to compatibility issue because as you can see in the diagram, this is the controller board and it's connected to different devices. So there might be a compatibility issue. These are the things that we need to resolve in the design stage of the project. So what we did is to carefully select first the board that we need because everything will be dictated by the board, the main controller board. So our requirements are, or the aspect that we need to consider are here, including the ones that I mentioned earlier. And these are now our requirements. So we need 3-axis board. We need 8 inputs and output with analog output and speed counter board. We need a communication board, which is Ethernet. We need to have a CNC software that is easy to use. Then, of course, because this is part of a research, we need to have a good support from the manufacturer. So luckily, we found one brand, one product. So the product has 4 input and output, 4 axes, the same input and outputs. It works on Ethernet technology. Then the software is menu-based configuration and operation. And in terms of support, this is one deciding factor which we considered to choose this board is that it has a very good support. They have their own website, they have online manuals, they have instructional videos, and a very active community. Then other consideration, the company is over 40 years old, meaning it is already known in the industry. They were able to establish their brand in 40 years. So the changes that we did or the alterations that we did in the machine is that, of course, we replaced the controller because that's the one we assume that it needs to be replaced. That's the main cause of the problem. Then, of course, the wiring system of the CNC will have to follow now the controller configurations. So we rewire the system. Then for us to resolve the issue on compatibility with the controller and the devices that it controls, we put or we add some interfaces such as relays, sensors, just to make the device and the controller communicate. Then, of course, we did some adding or replacing of mountings for components. If we replace motor, it might have different standards, mounting standards. The same with circuit boards. So we replace or add mountings. Then, in terms of changes and improvement, for the improvement, before the machine does not have an run hour timer. So basically, this is for maintenance use. It will now help us maintaining the machine because we now have a clock which says how many hours did the machine run from the last maintenance that we did. Then we added exhaust fan as suggested by our expert partner so that we can ensure the longer life for the electronic circuits. Then we added machine status signaling system. This is to help the operator know the status of the machine so that we can prevent accidents to happen. Then communication. Now because we replaced the board, it's now using Ethernet. Wherein later I'll show what are the possibilities that associated by using the previous communication medium to the one we use when we upgraded the system. Of course, we assume that in changing the controller board, in the software we will also change. So basically, the user interface changed, but the principle of operating a CNC machine remains the same. So as shown in this picture, it's still menu-based. Yan pa rin siya. Then, as shown in our video, we are now at the fourth stage of this research project. We started in securing the funds needed to implement this project. Then we conducted the research. So basically, in this research, we developed two prototype solutions. One for CNC milling machine and the other one is CNC lathe machine. We developed a prototype. Then after that, what we learned from the development of the prototype, we convert it into training. So here we train trainers so that the trainers would repair the CNC machines in their own centers. So para bang nag-sample kami. We did a sample, teach them how to repair one or two machines. Then they go home, they repair their own machines. That's what happened. So at present, they are now repairing these machines. And based on the report, one center were already 50% completed in their targets. So it's a good indicator of success. Then after that, we assume that once the machine are repaired, we train the trainers, we can now reactivate the CMMT. And then they will now produce students or learners graduate from a CNC operation training program. That way we can help the community. Next. So even the project's not completed yet, we see the, we are now seeing success with our implementation. Before we have 3 trainers who are qualified to operate CNC machines. Now we have 8 trainers, and if they start the training already in CNC operation, they can multiply bigger. Then before we have no trainers who can repair CNC machine. Basically, in practice, to repair this machine, you need to contact the owner or the vendor of the machine for them to do the servicing. So now we can repair the machine within TESDA. So we have 15 trainers to do that. And again, if we do it, we multiply or we conduct a multiplier training, then we can multiply these trainers as well. Then CNC maintenance manual. Before we don't have that. Well, now we have one manual developed and learning materials as well, which we use in the training. Then, of course, maintenance of CNC machine. Before we don't have program. That's why gradually it deteriorated. The CMMT deteriorated because we have no clear program or plan. But part of this project, we will develop a annual maintenance plan for each of the CMMT. Then provision for upgrade. Before, it would be through vendor or the supplier of the machine. Now, since we know how to repair, maintain, then we can also propose upgrading of the machine. But the one we brag about this project is that we were able to save about 167 million pesos, Philippine government money or people's money, because we did it the repair in-house. If you can remember, as I presented, if we engage the service of the authorized service center, we were billed charged about 170 plus million pesos. But here we only spent about 12 million, 11 million plus pesos. So what are the future application of this technology? The simplest could be um, uh, making a touchscreen controller. So basically, right now it's working with computer, so we just need to add one touchscreen laptop, and it's basically a touchscreen system. So remote operation of CNC machine. So we tried the wireless MPG and we tried the smartphone using apps. It worked, but for smartphone, it's a little bit delayed. Maybe there's a need for more advancement in Bluetooth technology. Then has not yet been tested, but in principle, this can be done because we now are connected through Ethernet. So we can have a networking of CNC. So one computer, it will control several CNC machines using virtual technology. So kasi when you use virtual technology, it's like having many PCs inside one PC. So basically, it's the same thing. So it can save both the academic if we're into production, but mainly the industry if they set up their system.
Recording in progress.
Universal gown mount for other defense programs of the AFP. This is the design.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Mayaman ang Pilipinas. Masagana tayo sa talento, likas yaman, at mga ideya. Ngunit hindi pa natin nakakamit ang inaasam na pag-unlad ng bansa. Ang susi sa pagsulong ng kaunlaran ng Pilipinas ay hindi basta innovation lamang, kundi Filipinnovation, isang malawak na panawagan at pagkilos na isulong ang progreso ng Pilipinas sa pamamagitan ng siyensya at innovation. Dahil isinasabuhay natin ang pagiging malikhain, matyaga, habang nakikipagtulungan sa bawat isa, tayo ay may dedikasyon na lumikha ng mga programa at matalinong solusyon na mapapakinabangan ng bawat Pilipino. Ang Filipinnovation ay isang entablado ng iba't ibang likha at teknolohiyang gawa ng Pilipino. Isang laboratorio kung saan lahat ng ideya ay sinusuri upang mabigyan ng pagkakataon na makamit ang ating ambisyon. Kaya ang diskarte natin ay research-driven, intellectual property-based, at market-responsive approaches sa paglikha ng mga produkto na makabuluhan sa merkado at sa buong komunidad. Ang susi sa progreso ay nasa ating kamay. Ang susi upang palakasin at patibayin ang buhay ng bawat Pilipino. Sa bawat ikot ng susi, tayo ay magiging isang innovative nation. Unlock Filipino potential, unleash Philippine progress. This is Filipinnovation.
Where we can use it in training. Multiple computers are now connecting or sharing one CNC machines for them to practice. Because most of the activities are really in the computer, and it's only for a short period of time that they'll be using the machine to develop the workpiece. Then another future application of these technologies, we can customize now the user interface, because different brands of CNC machine will use different software. So with this software or with this application, you are allowed to reposition these controls or these buttons or replace the icons. For example, if you're working with one brand and you want to simulate a different brand of CNC, then you can replace this interface to change the way it looks. Another application of the technology that we found out or discovered is that we can enhance the machine from 3-axis to make it a 4-axis machine with additional mechanical parts. Then one of our biggest takeaway is that in this research project is that we can now institutionalize the training on CNC machine repair and retrofitting. As I said earlier, the current practice is for you to have the CNC machines repaired, you need to engage the service of the authorized service provider. Now, we can develop technicians for that as authority in TEPED. So we can now have a training for that. So we can have a continuous development of trainers and skilled workers on CNC machine operations, repair, and maintenance. Next, we can also support MSMEs in CNC machine repair and retrofitting needs. So there's a high probability that the obsolescence of the equipment that we experience are also experienced by others or other industry who own similar equipment. So thus, the solution that works for us can also work for them. Parang one of the session I attended in 4IR, the transition of in Singapore is that the academe has a great part in helping the micro and small enterprises in their transition to 4IR. So basically, it's a conversion of legacy machine into automated machine. So this project is about that. The conversion of legacy machine into a more modern equipment. Lastly, support received. So we categorize the support that we receive. Financial and management, basically the advice and guidance, and the technical support. So here we receive project fund. Basically, it's the fund we use here does not come from the school fund, but we get it from proposing, but it's still TESDA money. But it goes through with the same as how you seek fund from the OST or other funding agency. Then, of course, directives, inclusion in the biggest would be the inclusion of this project in the program of work of the institution. So parang institution involved in this, the people involved in this, the research part is part of the regular workload already. We were given that opportunity. Then, of course, yung monitoring, because there are 6 CMMT now, and we cannot monitor that it all. So we requested regional office, to do the monitoring for us and submit the report to us. In terms of technical support, we received some inputs for the design and machine improvement from our very own Yusek Emmanuel Wanesa, who is our TESDA board member and also a USEC of Department of Energy, DOE. Then we requested assistance from the OST MIRDC, who also give insights and suggestions on how we can improve the design. Then for the training capability building, aside from PTC Rosario or Provincial Training Center Rosario Cavite, we also seek support from the Regional Training Center in CAR to do the training in CNC operation. So with this po, maraming salamat po. If you have questions, you can send it to our email, nitesd.erdb TESDA.gov.ph, and later I'll be happy to answer any questions. Salamat po. Back to you, Miss Lee.
All right. Thank you very much po, Mr. Cezar, for your presentation. To our viewers, once again, I apologize for the inconvenience a while ago. So if you have any questions regarding Sir Cezar's presentation, please don't be shy to type in the text in the chat box for our discussion and later's open forum, or you can also email innovationday@neda.gov.ph, and this will also be typed in our chat box. Now, okay, Sir Cezar, pahinga naman po tayo. We'll go now to our next speaker, Miss Siley Palomata. Okay, Miss Siley Palomata is currently the department head of the Tagum City Historical and Cultural Center, which houses the Cavite Museum, Center for Tagumenyo Studies, Tagumpay Theater, and the Tagum City Library and Learning Commons. A teacher by profession, she is now dedicating her life to public service, channeling her energies towards cultural work benefiting Tagum's cultural communities. So, ma'am, Miss Saidi, you have the floor na pa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ma'am Celine. Madiaw na alaw, kamayo ubos. Tagumpay greetings from Tagum City in Davao del Norte. I'm Saili Labastida Palomata. On behalf of our local chief executive, Mayor Alan Raleon, presenting the journey of our Tagum City Library and Learning Commons this morning. Allow us to express our appreciation to the National Economic Development Authority for inviting us to present our innovation in today's celebration of the National Innovation Day. Back in 2013, the city government of Tagum already started its dream of having a modern library that is at par with the needs of the time. By then, the demand to modernize our public library is at its peak. With more and more library patrons growing by the day, we saw the dire need to innovate. We felt that the small space we had back in the day is not suitable for the changing times. So, idea that is to invest in establishing what is now the Tagum City Library and Learning Commons, which sits at the heart of downtown Tagum City, a bustling urban hub in the southern part of the Philippines. The institution is one of the prime facilities of the Tagum City Historical and Cultural Center, operated and maintained by the city government of Tagum. In designing the space, we employed an open-air, vibrant environment which make it a conducive space for learning in a revitalized space that capitalizes on popping colors that are well thought to appeal to social media savvy patrons. The space, which is a complete departure from its cramped state decades prior to its re-emergence, utilizes space in a manner that conforms to the needs of its clients. Since it is a learning commons, it hosts various nooks suitable for every patron. At any given time, the Tagum City Learning Commons has 350 patrons, thanks primarily to the well-thought space allocation that puts premium on both comfort and style. The space was also designed to blend with the urban setup of downtown Tagum, with large glass panels giving patrons a feel of the outside world below, with the exception, of course, of urban noise that is effectively muted. It also blends well with the green urban landscape, making it as a green space that encourages learning and fun. The Tagum City Library and Learning Commons boasts of various sections that target various brackets of patrons. Its elementary section, with its colorful and playful ambience, is a
Recording in progress.
Content that would help people understand better. We had to educate people with what crowdfunding is all about.
So can we continue now?
Yes po.
Okay. So, as what we have been presenting a while ago, we have different sections in our City Library and Learning Commons. You just presented the elementary section. Aside from that, the City Library and Learning Commons also has collaborative rooms where a group of patrons can freely discuss without worrying their noises can disturb others. It's reading corners, conference room, and differently able to encourage participation. True to its core of being a fun learning hub, it also has a reading loft purposely made to accommodate learning events such as live story sessions and academic activities, among others. Among the activities that were already held at the spaces of the Tagum City Library and Learning Commons are local creative writing workshops, storytelling sessions, storytelling competitions, and academic conferences. What sets our library apart from the rest is that it departs from the usual mold of a library setup. Instead, it embraced and liberalized the concept of a modern library attuned to the times. Thus, when we opened last year, we boldly renamed the space into what is now known as the Tagum City Library and Learning Commons. In doing so, we reimagined this space as open, transparent spaces that encourages communication and collaboration. These two are timeless ingredients to effective education. But in advancing our education agenda, we did not just focus on the spaces alone. We also solidified our footprint beyond our spaces. It is in this reason that we boldly incorporated the inclusion of the Center for Tagomenyo Studies, perhaps the country's first LGU-managed study center in the structure of the library. We forged partnerships with various tertiary and secondary institutions in fortifying academic researches that deals with Tagum's history, culture, heritage, and the arts. The Center for Tagomenyo Studies is one of the salient components of the institution and is institutionalized through a local ordinance. Under the sense of legislation, an annual research grant is also allotted by the local government to spur academic researches that will make the Tagum City Library and Learning Commons not only as a learning hub, but a bastion of knowledge that future generations of Tagomenyos and scholars will surely benefit from. It also hosts the monthly Katigaman lecture series held at the Tagumpay Theater, one of the facilities of the Tagum City Historical and Cultural Center, where select academic research materials are being presented to a live audience. Library patrons are also treated to a whole new spectrum of learning in other facilities of the Tagum City Historical and Cultural Center, like the Tagumpay Theater, which hosts a handful of arts and cultural events, an art gallery featuring artistic interpretations of local artists, and of course, the Kagikan Museum, which creatively narrates the history of Tagum. Experiences at these spaces at the leading artistic and cultural space of Tagum will definitely fortify the appreciation of history, culture, the arts, and the education among the patrons. Hence, learning is not only contained at the Tagum City Library and Learning Commons, but is also extended in other prime facilities of the center. True to its mission of being a leading educational hub, the Tagum City Library and Learning Commons has bravely adopted technology to reach out not only to its regular patrons living in Tagum City, but even to the forgotten corners of the world. This is done through our digital Oman Oman series project, which effectively promotes indigenous stories to varied set of mobile consumers. The original indigenous stories of this city's cultural communities found new platforms for massive distribution in a bold attempt to immortalize these stories by adopting digital tools that are attuned to the times. A byproduct of our locally funded program, the community-based Pag-Indo program, the project compiles several indigenous stories into various formats. A podcast hosted on popular streaming apps Spotify and Apple Podcasts, a fully illustrated children's storybook, and a coloring book. Last year, the Tagum City Library and Learning Commons was adjudged as the most innovative public library by the National Library of the Philippines and the Ford Asia Foundation. Through the operationalization of the Tagum City Library and Learning Commons, Tagum City contributed to some pillars of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Among these are quality education, reduced inequalities, good health and well-being, and sustainable cities and institutions. It is notable that the programs and projects that it introduced throughout these years led to the reputation of the Tagum City Library and Learning Commons as an excellent library that empowers a literate, informed, and participative society. In setting its agenda, the Tagum City Library and Learning Commons has not only set its gaze in the local setting, but also thinks beyond the box as it reaches out even to the global patrons. In doing so, it revitalizes local active partners and made them co-owners of the library's vision, thus making it sustainable by tapping community ownership. It is also worth noting that in advancing education, it also highlights the cultural fabric of the city it serves, while noting that it cannot advance by leaving behind its cultural roots. Through these initiatives, the library promotes engagement that does not discriminate against ethnicity, disability, gender, or religion. It continues its advocacy of thinking global by acting local. The innovation we worked on led us to appreciate some key realizations which could also guide other LGUs in their innovation journey. These are, first and foremost, LGUs and learning institutions need to facilitate equal relationship that generates collaboration. We need to innovate to guarantee that education can happen outside of the classroom. And number 3, enable students and library patrons to manage self-directed learning through spaces that encourages collaborative learning. Innovation is a heart that pumps blood to development, as what we have done at the Tagum City Library and Learning Commons and at the Tagum City Historical and Cultural Center. Nothing simply beats the power of turning a problem into an opportunity. Once again, thank you very much for the opportunity to present our humble innovation. We are hoping to have inspired our fellow innovators as we help the Philippines tread the path to sustainable development. Tagum Tagumpay.
Tagum tagumpay indeed. Thank you very much, Ms. Siley, for your presentation. A kind reminder again to everyone to please type in their questions in the Zoom chat box or use the raise hand function later in the open forum. All right, thank you very much, Ms. Siley. And now let's move on for our last speaker, Director Joyce Andaya. So Director Andaya finished her BS Education and Master of Arts in Education, major in Curriculum and Instruction in UP Diliman. A recipient of the Australia Leadership Award in 2012, she also pursued Master of Educational Management and Leadership at the University of Sydney under the Australian Development Scholarship. She is a former high school principal of Lourdes School of Quezon City, and in 2012 joined the DepEd as the Director 3 of the Bureau of Secondary Education. She also became the OIC Executive Director of the National Council for Children's Television. She is currently the Director 4 of the Bureau of Curriculum Development, Chair of the Senior High School National Task Force, the President of the Association of DepEd Directors Incorporated, and President of CSO Saldio Batch 19. She has been recently assigned in a concurrent capacity as the lead official in the Private Education Office. She is also the department's gender focal point, global inventory of regional and national qualifications framework, and global citizenship program. Her other assignments include being governing board member of the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization, or ELC board, member of the Commission on Population, Board of Commissioners, and co-chairs the Technical Committee of the Philippine Schools Overseas. So Director Andaya, ma'am, you have the floor po.
Thank you and good morning to everyone. Maayong aga sa tanan. We are glad and proud to have been chosen to share an innovative practice that started last school year, which is of course still in its birthing stage. And I'd like to specifically thank our USEC Diosdado San Antonio and our ASEC Almatorio for fully supporting this initiative. Next slide. Our presentation outline covers the rationale of the program, description, its goals and objectives, qualifications of the innovators, the 12 innovators, and at least sample of the work, and of course, our next steps. Next slide. The uncertainty of the future due to the advancement of technologies highlights the importance of Sulong Edukalidad as the DepEd's move to innovate Philippine education in response to a world drastically changing. It is DepEd's national reform to raise the quality of basic education in response to the rapidly changing learning environment of present and future learners by introducing aggressive reforms to globalize. According to Secretary Leonor Magtolis Briones, we always remind ourselves that our constitutional mandate to provide every Filipino not only access to education, but to basic quality education. And we have realized that we're facing the reality that we still have much to do in responding to the constitutional mandate as far as quality education is concerned. And as a result, this mandate has been translated to the program of Sulong Edukalidad, which carries the KITE approach. KITE K is K-12 curriculum review and updating. I is improving of learning environment. T is teachers upskilling and reskilling, and E engagement of stakeholders for support and collaboration. The said belief on the importance of innovation is a vivid evidence of DepEd's compliance with Republic Act number 11293, otherwise known as the Philippine Innovation Act, and contribution to the state as stipulated in Section 2G.A. The state shall place innovation at the center of its development policies, guided by a clear long-term set of goals that shall take into consideration the key advantages of the country and the opportunities in the regional and global arena. Hence, the various undertakings on the innovations in DepEd are anchored with a common understanding on the definition as stipulated in the Philippine Innovation Act, which refers to innovation as the creation of new ideas that results in the development of new or improved products, processes, or services, which are then spread or transferred across markets. It is noteworthy that this isn't just the CIL or the Circle of Innovators for Learning, isn't just the innovative practice of the Department of Education. We just decided to highlight this because we know that it is important that there are advocates capable of scaling all the innovations and replicating them in the respective environments. As a result, the educators and innovation leaders in basic education look at various approaches to make these innovations worthwhile in the community. In fact, these innovations, which started from the regional and division levels, were given due recognition. These innovations play a pivotal role to the learners. As Secretary Briones mentioned, that the only constant in education is change. The more we prepare our learners before going out to a world where practices and principles are already different, then they will be in a better position to accept and look for innovation. Therefore, having felt the dire need to support such recognized innovations and to multiply the positive impact on the lives of the learners, teachers, and the learning community, the Office of the Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction, through the assistance of the Bureau of Curriculum Development, is taking the lead to intensify the culture of innovation through a core of exemplary innovators. Hence, we organized the Circle of Innovators for Learning. Next slide. With innovation as the new goal in mind, the BCD escalates the practice of spotlighting awardees recognized by various award-giving bodies by creating the Circle of Innovators for Learning. The Circle of Innovators for Learning is organized to inculcate the culture of innovation by recognizing exemplary innovators in the DepEd community and to uphold innovations which are replicable and scalable to influence the quality of Philippine or global education. The elite members of the group are selected from the pool of awardees of various award-giving institutions based on what they created, improved, or innovated in service and or program, which help the DepEd community and on the set criteria by the Bureau of Curriculum Development. The CIL will also serve as the avenue for discussing innovative ideas and practices implemented in the different DepEd communities under the new normal. In line with this, the launch of the Circle of Innovators for Learning and webinar on the innovations in the new normal were held on February 23 to 24, 2021. Please retain that slide. The national awardees of different awarding programs, the Civil Service Commission, the Career Executive Board, Metro Bank Foundation, DepEd Safe CI, and other awardees and finalists in international awards such as the Global Teacher Prize, the Mahashakri Award, shall be invited as core members. In order to ensure their engagement and their contribution, these innovators will also serve as agents of innovation because they will be tackling various programs and projects. Next slide, please. The goal of the Circle of Innovators for Learning is to inculcate the culture of innovation by acknowledging exemplary innovators for learning in the DepEd community and uphold innovations that are replicable and scalable to influence the quality of Philippine or basic or global education. Its objectives are, number one, to establish a circle of innovators for learning of the Department of Education. Number two, to trace and ensure the success of the innovations of members of the Circle of Innovators for Learning in the respective DepEd community. Number three, to use innovation in solving educational problems and issues. Number four, to engage the Circle of Innovators for Learning in the DepEd's programs and projects. 5, to strengthen the quality of teaching and learning through innovations. And 6, to collaborate with external stakeholders to identify, incubate, and scale promising innovations that help fulfill every child's right to basic education. Next slide, please. The qualification of the innovators to the CIL are the following. The innovator must be a DepEd teacher, head teacher, a master teacher or supervisor, a chief or assistant superintendent, a division superintendent with at least 3 years of continuous service, must have a performance rating of at least very satisfactory, must have an exemplary innovation before or during the new normal, replicable and scalable to influence the quality of Philippine or global education, must be recognized by award-giving institutions based on what he or she created, improved, or innovated in the service and or program which benefited the DepEd community, and must have exhibited good moral character, must not have been charged guilty of any administrative, civil, or criminal case. Next slide. At this point, I'm so honored to present the 12 CIL's Innovators for Learning, entitled CIL Sino Ba Sila? For presentation purposes and time constraints, only 4 innovations will be highlighted. The link for 5 to 12 videos will be provided later. Next slide, please. Let's begin with the WET-Key box, which is a manipulative learning resource for grades 4, 5, and 6 in science and mathematics subjects. Let's find out how this box enhances the teaching and learning process. Please play.
Technology is a useful tool that can support and transform education in many ways, from making it easier for teachers to create instructional materials to enabling new ways for pupils to learn and work together. Faced with a rapidly changing society, innovation has become a necessary capability in life. This challenged the proponent to create WeTie Mobile Bags, a manipulative teaching learning resource for grade 4, 5, and 6 in science and mathematics subjects. The project aims to Enhance the teaching strategy of science and mathematics teachers in teaching angles, elapsed time, and weather. Provide concrete instructions through manipulative teaching learning resource. Increase pupils' MPL in science and mathematics through the promotion of experiential learning. Cater to the different learning styles of the pupils. The Witay Mobile Bags won 3rd place for elementary category in the 2nd Innovax search for the most innovative teaching and learning resources. The Innovax project is an initiative of Department of Science and Technology, Science Education Institute. It is a nationwide search for the most innovative teaching and learning resources for science and mathematics subjects. The search aims to encourage teachers to be innovative, creative, and practical in teaching science and mathematics concepts to improve students' performance in these subjects. Due to this year's challenge brought by the pandemic, the proponent redesigned the project to cater the needs of the learners in different modalities. A smaller version was made for mobility that can be brought into homes by schedule, together with user manual, guide card, and interactive and self-learning modules. Through the DIY Witay mobile bags, the replicability and scalability of the device can be massive. In much deeper sense, Witay mobile bags is not exclusive to math and science only. It runs across the different subjects areas like Araling Panlipunan, English, and thus bringing a greater interactive and holistic approach in pedagogy. The teaching learning resource material through Witay mobile bags brought about learners' acquired understanding of mathematical and science concepts. The hands-on experience of using the learning resource material also satisfies the need to experience knowledge. It is observed that using Witay mobile bags, classroom instructions became more meaningful through the help of Arduino programming and control. Application of basic robotics helps the proponent materialize the simulation of Earth's rotation and its connection to the time, as well as the use of light-dependent resistor to the relation to the temperature. The accomplishment of the Witay mobile bags benefited the whole school and the team as well, through acquiring new knowledge and exploring the project and gathering innovative suggestions from the judges. The teaching learning resource were also used by several teachers within the school that benefits pupils of a Cezar Senior Elementary School.
Hello there, I'm Abram Makingbi Aban, a grade 5 student from Cezar Senior Elementary School. I am also one of the few people who witnessed the Witay mobile box. The Witay mobile box is a device used to simulate how much heat and light is landing on the Earth's surface. While the Earth rotates, the heat and light which are distributed along the surface, like Africa, Asia, or the other continents, which is getting sensed by the sensor on the bottom. It could be numbers like 46.1 or 45, and it can be very interesting for some people like me. I'm very interested by the fact it does that, and it can also be educational for young people to witness the rotation of the earth, climate change, and other things. I wish that other people will witness the Witay mobile box too, so they can learn more about the day and night cycle, the distributed light and heat, and the other amazing things about the Witay mobile box.
I enjoyed the Witay mobile box because it was very realistic on how you can move and turn each planet in the solar system. You can even adjust the temperature or rotate the Earth. I found the Witay mobile box helpful due to its easy management and handiness. It opens multiple doors of thoughts and ideas about our solar system.
Next slide, please. Our next innovation is Viernes Escuela platforms. Viernes Escuela innovation focuses on the innovative teaching practices, and Viernes Escuela Live aims on how teachers innovate their class through technology tools and resources. Let's know more about these two Viernes Escuela platforms. At present, Viernes Escuela has the following: 9 conducted professional development sessions. The focus of the session is on learning resource advancement. And then 219 teachers were recognized as newly Microsoft Innovative Educators, 3 national and international collaborations, 683 average participants, 4 sessions, and 1,424 outputs submitted, 610 of which are sample Flipgrid videos, and 814 Wakelet accounts. Please play the video.
The school's division of Bulacan proudly presents its outstanding innovation in education and its teachers' skillful and creative potential. Sulong Edukalidad. Title of the innovation: Auto-Electrical Board Type Mock-up, a tool for instructional effectiveness, by Jeffrey G. Moranas, Master Teacher 2 from Assemblywoman Felicita G. Bernardino Memorial Trade School, Schools Division of Bulacan. Objectives of the innovation.
The design and the technical specification of the project innovation was derived from my personal observation, suggestion made by expert in the field, at syempre, doon sa mga natutunan ko na rin sa aking masteral class regarding the design and engineering process. Afterwards, I began gathering all the materials, tools, and equipment na gagamitin sa aking project. I also do some rough sketches or drawings sa kung ano man yung maging kakalabasan ng aking project innovation. Based on the fabrication cost, umabot lang ng 905 yung nagastos namin, imbes na 4,500. Gawa nga nung ang mga parts na to ay usually locally available materials and mga recycled parts at mga donated vehicle parts sa aming school. The project was completed in just a matter of 3 weeks through the help of my students.
Highlights of implementation. The climate for innovation in education thrives when every aspect of the idea relentlessly promotes creativity and engagement in its intricate implementation.
Ngayon, isa sa mga kasanayan na dapat matutunan ng estudyante ay kung paano mag-repair ng mga electrical at ilaw ng sasakyan. Mahalagang matutunan ang mga bagay na ito para mapanatiling nasa maayos na kondisyon at safe gamitin ang isang sasakyan. Pero sa kasamaang palad, dahil sa kakulangan ng pondo ng DepEd at sa mahal na rin ng supply at presyo ng mga piyesa ng sasakyan gaya ng ilaw, ay walang mapag-aralan o mapag-practicean man lang ang mga estudyante. Dahil dito, naisip ko na gumawa ng isang innovation regarding auto-electrical board type mock-up para masolusyonan ang problemang ito.
Here are the step-by-step procedures in the fabrication of the auto-electrical board type mock-up. The auto-electrical board type mock-up was used in teaching automotive servicing competency in grade 10 at Assemblywoman Felicita G. Bernardino Memorial Trade School, and based on the performance outputs of the students, findings revealed that the auto-electrical board type mock-up is highly accepted by them as an effective tool for instruction.
Good day, class. Today we're going to discuss the different auto-electrical lighting component. Number 1 is the stoplight. Next, we have the reverse light. Then the signal light, the right signal light, and the left signal light. In addition, we have the emergency hazard light. Next, we have the wiper, low speed and high speed.
The utilization of the auto-electrical board type mock-up was able to empower the students by developing their mastery of automotive lighting system. It enabled them to connect, process, and apply their knowledge of automotive lighting system into a meaningful whole by being able to perform hands-on activities using the innovation. It was able to boost their confidence, having felt a sense of achievement after being able to perform successfully the task of lighting troubleshooting and automotive servicing. The auto electrical board type mockup, with its simple design that meets the needs and minimum requirements of a typical automotive electrical system parts and lighting, is an effective instructional tool that is cost efficient, much cheaper compared to actual unit price in the market, and definitely contributes in attaining the goal of schools offering automotive technical vocational courses to produce highly skilled graduates who are capable of competing globally. It was subjected to an evaluation of instructional acceptability based on the identified criteria such as functionality, workability, durability, safety, economy, and instructional applicability. The project was evaluated by a panel of 30 evaluators comprising of technicians, teachers, experts, and TACVOX students and received an overall mean rating of 4.77, which is excellent. Extent of replicability and scalability to influence the quality of Philippine or global education.
Auto electrical board type mockup in teaching junior high school student, inadapt na rin ito ng aming senior high school department under the TBL track and got positive result. Eventually, the innovation was presented and introduced in the 2019 Division Research Innovation and CIP Festival. Doon mas marami naka-appreciate na teacher na hindi naman pala kailangang gumastos ng malaki para makapag-produce ng innovative materials na magagamit natin para mas madaling matuto yung mga estudyante. At the same time, masarap din sa pakiramdam na na-share mo yung iyong nalalaman. And siyempre, naka-influence ka sa kanila na mas lalong magpursige at humanap ng paraan at diskarte para mas mapadali ang kanilang pagtuturo sa mga bata.
With its presentation in the 2019 Division Research, Innovation and CIP Festival, this innovation reached different schools in Bulacan with the hope that other schools offering automotive servicing could benefit from it as well. Award a giving body that recognized the innovation. With the outstanding craft that demonstrates intelligent innovation in education, it garnered the third place winner in the junior high school category. Fourth regional research evaluation with the theme Linking Policy, Practice, and Research Towards the Effective Delivery of the K-12 Curriculum. DepEd Region 3, dated December 13 to 15, 2016. Personal crafted quote about the innovation. Truly, the journey of innovation in education progresses stage by stage through the contribution, commitment, and enthusiasm of educators who have shown excellent breakthrough in education worth recognizing today and beyond. Mabuhay, DepEd ng Bulacan!
The next slide will show the innovation on auto electrical board type mockup, a tool for instructional effectiveness. To know more about this 905 pesos fabrication cost innovation and how this will aid the instruction, let's watch this video.
Good day. I'm Vincent Paul M. Cabral, District ALS Coordinator at Teacher Innovator of Batangas Province. The title of my innovation is Pagsasaka, a digitalized e-learning module. This innovation won first place in the 2014 national competition on the development of basic literacy learning materials under the digitalized learning modules non-print category last October 29, 2014. This innovation was produced using Adobe Animate, a multimedia authoring and computer animation program developed by Adobe Systems. With this, it can be reproduced, improved, and scaled up to be used in the whole country or globally. The objectives of this innovation are enhance the quality of learning and teaching in alternative learning system, meet the learning style or needs of out-of-school youths and adults, and improve the efficiency and effectiveness of ALS modules. Highlights of the implementation. It was used in Alternative Learning System or ALS in the division of Batangas Province, and it received great feedback from the ALS teachers and ALS out-of-school youth and adult learners. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I developed supplementary materials or innovation apps for Android phones which can be downloaded in Google Play Store. These are ALS Reviewer with 23,122 downloads, Araling Panlipunan with 17,479 downloads, and recently, the ALS Life Skills Module version 2.0 with 1,623 downloads. These supplementary materials are bringing education right to the learner's fingertips. They can study using their cell phones, and importantly, these apps do not require internet connection. Also developed an online enrollment system using Google Forms for our school, which made it safer for the parents and the learners to enroll during these pandemic times. There were 4,306 responses, making our school the largest elementary school in the whole province of Batangas. The responses in the learner enrollment survey form were easily collected using the online enrollment form. The SPG election was also done using an online election app. The pupils casted their votes using cell phones, which then transmitted to the Google form online and reflecting real-time results of the election. When all the pupils were done casting their votes, the results of the election were already counted automatically, making it the fastest SPG election in the history of the school. I'm just an ordinary teacher, doing simple things for great reasons. And I'm leaving you with a saying, one exemplary innovation for a school, one massive rise for Philippine education. Again, this is Vincent Paul M. Cabral, District ALS Coordinator, Teacher Innovator of Batangas Province. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next innovation. The other slides will not be shown anymore in terms of the innovative practices they did. Instead, we are going to show you the link for the remaining videos for Bahay Sagip. From its inception in 2011 to the present, a total of 318 disadvantaged kids were accommodated at Bahay Sagip in all its 3 houses in Zamboanga, Sibugay. They also cater to the girl dormers and offer naiibang scholars. Our next one is Mrs. Barojado's BU Away Folkloric Dance Troupe and Sumbahay are for inclusive education in the battle against the pandemic. And also Chimatar is a comic-based strategic intervention material with augmented reality that helps students understand hard subjects, and it aids teachers in managing a large number of students. And this is by Venus Alboroto of Caraga. The next slide, okay, we innovate, meaning introduce new and notable outputs through varied approaches and techniques. It aims to create innovative teachers that respond to the needs of learners and the community even during the crisis situation. This is a noble purpose of empowering teachers with the subject content and introducing innovations and pedagogy. With these, they can better contribute in enhancing learning outcomes and effecting transformation through quality instruction. By Mary Ann Grace Dulay of Region 1. The next one is the Culture-Based and Inclusive Education Program by Mr. Jesus Ensilada of Region 6. To help the poor and indigenous learners, Mr. Ensalada has organized a culture-based and inclusive education program by training our teachers through culture-based approaches. It also strengthened all the projects and programs concerning cultures and identity with the help of co-curricular activities. The next slide will show us a glimpse of Kalilayan IP at Kabuhayan para sa Indigenous Peoples Project Lead, Learners Empowerment and Development, and MELMA, Mobile-Based Enhancement Learning Materials for the A&E program by Rejulius M. Villanes, a public school district supervisor, Region 4A, Calabarzon. And the next one is Dagyao by Mr. Darwin Tadifa. Dagyao is delivery of assistance and guidance for young minds' advancement and welfare. It emphasizes unique literacy integration amid pandemic, wherein Kabataan Guro volunteers together with the learners' parents, local officials, and Sangguniang Kabataan work hand in hand, local government unit to deliver education in every home while following health protocols. And lastly, the invention-driven and instructional design innovative transfer. It aims to empower both the teachers and learners to come up with simple and sustainable solutions, providing a practical and progressive learning experience using learning ingenuity, resourcefulness, and application of interdisciplinary knowledge by Maria Regael Orate and Jason Alvaro of the National Capital Region. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, all our examples of innovations are meant for only one thing, to enable our learners to learn better, to aid them in learning no matter the situation they are in. And here are our next steps for the Circle of Innovators for Learning. We will have a CIL portal, much like what the NODA is doing, pulling together all the innovations and innovators of the country. And that's what we want to do for DepEd. An Innovators Congress, monitoring and evaluation of the innovations and their impact on learning, and Learning Futures curriculum, where we intend to align a forward-looking curriculum with up-to-date technology and that puts learners at the center of education. Finally, the Department of Education believes that education is the seedbed for innovation. We know that we are in a unique position to raise innovative young minds who will later on be capable of helping leapfrog our education and economy. We know and we are truly blessed because we, especially our teachers, are given the opportunity to catch a glimpse of tomorrow through the eyes of the learners. And it then behooves us, teachers, school heads, and officials, to sow the needs of innovation. We support, encourage, and unlock Filipinnovation. One research at a time, one innovation at a time. Muli, magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Maraming salamat.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Director Andaya, for that wonderful message. And also thank you for sharing with us the outstanding innovations in the learning and education sector. Definitely, we learned a lot from the WETI mobile box, the Viens Escuela platform, the electrical board type mock-up, and the digitalized e-learning modules. And there are many more. So let me know from the audience, what is your favorite innovation? And what are your key takeaways from the sessions that were previously discussed? All right, so without further ado, I'd like to thank you very much to our speakers for the informative and enlightening presentation. So if we can all give them a virtual round of applause. And now, And now we open the floor for any questions from our dear viewers, from our students and teachers who may be watching. Please feel free, don't be shy to please type in your questions or comments, your key takeaways in the chat box, or even use the raise hand function to share what you learned. Please be recognized. I believe we have a question earlier by Mr. Christopher Mendoza from Laguna State Polytechnic University. Is Mr. Christopher here? If so, please be recognized, sir.
Hello, good afternoon po.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. Ma'am, wala po akong tanong po, and kung meron man po I will just email it po doon sa link po na ano natin.
Okay, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, then po, you can email innovationday@neda.gov.ph.
Yes po, ma'am. I already have the email po. Thank you.
Okay. So let us know what your favorite innovations are and your key takeaways from the sessions. But before we go to that, I'd also like to ask the speakers, what do you think are the barriers to innovation that we can innovate and do better to really support the learning and education sector? If any of our speakers can take the floor, please feel free to share. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. In line with the Tagum City Historical and Cultural Center, we are really always on the lookout for innovative projects that we can deliver to our constituents here in the city, especially at our local executive, Alan Lopez, really Jocelyn, who was the council mayor. Of innovation, we are currently of the center, particularly that's located in the third floor of the Historical and Cultural Center. We have just recently partnered with the University of the Philippines in the development of an augmented reality, inclusion of augmented reality in the exhibits exhibited in the center. So basically, that's a project that we are working on right now, and we are also with very institutional education institutions, researchers that always benefit of Tagum Mania researchers. Of course, I'm highlighting the future of
Hello, Miss Heidi. It's a bit choppy though.
All right. Okay, so yes, here in the Tagum City Historical and Cultural Center are always on the lookout for innovative projects. And as what I've mentioned earlier, we are currently working with students from the University of Southeastern Philippines to develop or to include an augmented reality different artifact being exhibited at the Beacon Museum, which is located at the third floor of Historical and Cultural Center. And apart from that, we're also expanding our reach to the various researchers here in Tagum by giving them platforms for them to present their research, as what I have shared during the presentation, highlighting on the history, culture, and heritage of Tagum City. Our Communities Affairs Division has been very active also in implementing innovative projects, cultural heritage. No? And we are very thankful that city, because of a very inclusive governance, we have partnered with the cultural communities themselves, planning and implementation of these. That answered the question, and I hope I'm not choppy anymore. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I had my mute. Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Saidi, for sharing that. Definitely, the network and reach is one of the barriers to innovation that we want to also resolve as a part of our innovation agenda. I think Sir Stephen is raising his hand. Sir, would you like to say something?
Yes, Ms. Celine, regarding your question. So for me, I think it's better if we weigh the merit of the intent or the reason why innovators wanted to innovate, rather than listening on how they plan to innovate. Kasi in most cases, you will think it's a crazy process, rather than looking at what would be the result of this innovation. So siguro when we decide if we are to support on any innovation endeavor, I would suggest that we weigh the merit of the intention rather than the process. Yun po, salamat.
Thank you very much, sir. And I do agree with that. It's really, we really also need to weigh what are actually our problems for innovating, and then how can we actually resolve that. So that's why we're here today for the Innovation Day, to gather as much network and reach as we can, so that we can make innovation become more, so that we can also promote innovation to our audience. So if there are no more questions, I'd like to invite the speakers to maybe share special final message to our audience for today's event. Sir Stephen, would you like to?
Parang hindi na paghandaan to.
Yes, as an innovator yourself, sir, would you like to send a message to them that innovation is not a scary thing?
Pero I would like to leave the message that innovation does not take place outright. It takes time for change to happen. So you just need to be clear on what you wanted to do and observe every steps that you make, so that you will not take the long and winding road in meeting your goals. Salamat po.
Thank you very much, Sir Stephen. Ms. Saili, do you have any special message for our viewers, especially our students, or the youth, who are the future of the Philippines? I think my technical glitch lang si Ms. Saili. All right. For any questions, we would be happy to collect them and send to the speaker. So just please send it to us through the email address innovationday@neda.gov.ph. And also share with us your favorite innovations. What do you think are the barriers to innovation that we can innovate and do better as we work on our 10-year roadmap of innovation in the country? Hello, Miss Riley, are you still in the room? Okay, I think the technical glitch na si Miss Riley. So definitely infrastructure is one of the things that we need to innovate. In our ecosystem right now in the Philippines. But nevertheless, I hope you all had a wonderful and enlightening session this afternoon. And to officially close, may I just invite everyone for a photo op session with our speakers. Okay, so there are currently 3 pages. Please bear with me. Open your cameras. Please don't be shy. Be recognized. Okay. May iba siguro kumakain na. Hindi pa kami kumakain. Okay. Apologies for the inconvenience. Well, anyway, ganito talaga. But we'll work from there because better late than never. All right. So please smile for the camera. 1, 2, 3. Smile. First page. Okay. Next, for the second page. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right. I want to see your pretty handsome faces. So, third page. Okay. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right. It's been a long afternoon, and once again, I really apologize for any inconvenience earlier, and thank you very much for attending the event. Please don't forget to answer the evaluation form sent in the chat box. And once again, on behalf of the National Innovation Council, we would like to thank our speakers, Mr. Stephens, Director Andaya, Ms. Saili, and everyone for attending this year's National Innovation Day. So for now, you may check out the official website of NEDA for more innovation-related activities. And we hope to see you again next year. Thank you very much, guys. Have a lovely lunch. Thank you. Thank you, sir.